Hello, everyone. I guess it's pretty hard to speak after Marina, and I don't have, I'm not as articulate, and I'm basically kind of an internet nerd, so I'm gonna try my best, I promise. So in 2011, I said, if you want to liberate a society, all what you need is to give them the internet. But I was wrong. The reason why I said that was in 2011, January 25th, I happened to be the anonymous administrator that started a page on Facebook that called for the overthrowing Mubarak, the Egyptian revolution. But my relationship with the internet did not start from that point. In fact, I have a long living time love affair with the internet from the very early days I got access to it. I remember the very first moment I got online. It was in my cousin's office. At the time, he called me and he said, "Hey, listen, I want you to come to my office right now." I was 16 years old. His office was like a few blocks away. I was like, "What's the deal?" He's like, "You have to come right now. I'm gonna show you something crazy." And I didn't know what to expect. I went to the office, and I started hearing the modem, the fax modem, probably a sound that a lot of you are not familiar with. You can find it on YouTube, actually. It's got like a lot of views. I think I loved hearing the sound again. So I heard that modem, and he was telling me, imagine, this is crazy. Right now, I'm gonna connect to the Library of Congress. I have access to every single book that is available on their website. So out of excitement, I was like, this is crazy. This is gonna change the world. This is gonna open so many paths for people like me. I'm living in Cairo in Egypt. I haven't traveled at the time the world. I just went to Saudi Arabia. My dad was living there. So there wasn't really much of interactions I had with the other part of the world. Little do I know that actually this is gonna change my very own life in every aspect of it. So in 1 year later, I started a website, an Arabic content website, and that was kind of audio lectures published online. I got 80 volunteers whom I never met before, they don't know my name because I was anonymous, and the website grew quickly to over 100,000 unique users. And that was at the 1997, at the very early days of the internet. And the interesting part was, like, when I wanted to register the domain, I didn't have $15 to start the domain. I didn't have a credit card. I was not legally allowed to have a bank account. So I used one of my friends in Canada, which I made a friendship with using IRC, to ask him, can you give me your credit card account, your credit card information? I promised it was $15, and we had a big fight because it ended up $25. Few years later, I wanted to get married, and here comes the internet again. I basically started a community service inside the website for Muslim female converts, and tons of thousands of users went to that website, including my wife. And I pinged her on AOL, and I started chatting with her. Hey, I'm in Egypt. Wael, 19. What about you? And we started getting into conversation. She kind of got creeped out. I don't blame her. But we ended up getting married 1 year later. So basically, I've lived through this internet life that affected my personal life. I've seen the power of talking to masses. I worked only in internet startups since the very early days. And in 2008, I've been applying to Google. Every time Google have an opening in the Middle East, I apply and I get rejected. one was like, I applied for the person that runs the whole Middle East, and I was 23 years old. And I remember I got into the last interview, and the VP was kind of like, how in the heck did you get into this interview? You're too young from an experience point of view. You don't have the experience for this job. But that didn't bother me. I kept trying until I actually got into Google in 2008. I remember the VP at Google that was doing my last interview. She asked me, why were you so keen in joining Google? You've been applying so many times. So I told her that internet have changed my life. It changed the way I think. It changed the way I do things. I acquired a lot of talents using the internet. And I believe that a lot of the young people in the Middle East would benefit a lot from it. And the more we do good work online, the better the Middle East will become. So who would not take being in the position of the center of the internet, Google? And I got the job. In 2010, I was not political at all. I did not care. I was one of those, their relationship with politics is basically making some jokes and saying, well, the world is bad. What do we do about it? It's not my job. I have a good life. I have a family. I have 2 kids. My life is good. But there was this moment in Egypt where I got angry. And it wasn't really about the anger. It was more about the frustration. It was about why are all these young Egyptians who are hoping for a better future not seeing it? Why was I born since I was born, we only had one president. There is this photo of showing the US presidents, starting from the George Bush, the father, until Obama, and all what we had is Mubarak just getting grumpier. So on one of the nights, young Egyptian from Alexandria was beaten up to death by police. Very common event in Egypt, but the difference here, there was a photo of his body after his death that was leaked out of the morgue, and it flooded on Facebook. I got very sad from seeing the photo of Khaled, and I felt very associated with him. I could be just this guy. Anybody in the street pretty much could be that guy, and we all know nothing is going to happen to the police. The guys who killed him are going to go, no one is going to put them accountable. So I went to my study room. I was crying. My wife came in, and I was really in my very emotional state of this got to stop, and I got to do something about it. And I do not want to just live my life working, being successful in my careers and just about it. So I created a page, and the name was very simple. We're all Khaled Saeed. We are this guy that died. We had the same dreams, we have the same aspirations. We wanted to see our country in a better state, and whatever happened to him could happen to us. And it ended up with, in the first day, 30,000 people joined the page. And I was like, oh shit. What is going on? There's a large number of people that are thinking the same. They go into Facebook or Google, they search for the name, they find this page, they join it. And it's a group of angry people. But anger is not enough. Just being angry is not enough. Actually, a lot of the times we get angry, and over time we just don't do anything constructive. And what we were thinking was how could we get everybody who cares about a better future to do something for the country? We started soliciting ideas. We started doing everything that the regime was not doing. We started talking to the people of the page. The page started growing. I got a co-admin that started helping me out on the page. Someone I have never met in person, and I didn't meet in person until after the revolution. And we used the page to solicit ideas, crowdsource. We did silent stands where people were marching in the streets wearing black for 1 hour, not talking to anybody. We did all sort of increasing the awareness, and we got to the whole objective was tell the regime that this got to stop. Ben Ali, in 2011, the Tunisian dictator, who also stayed in power for decades, flew out of Tunisia. And for me, that was kind of a moment of surprise. I've never seen this as a young 30 years old. In my whole 30 years old, I have never seen that happen in the whole Middle East and the Arab region. So I jumped into my keyboard in a very naive and spontaneous behavior, and I wrote a message on the page which had about 350,000 people. If we could get 100,000, that's what I wrote, if we could get 100,000 people in the square, in Tahrir Square, on 25th of January, we can bring Mubarak down, who's in? And the idea was to just see what was going on, what are people gonna say? And people were like, yes, we wanna do that. This is exactly what need to happen. This should have happened long time ago. And people started like taking ownership. So created an event, put in a revolution against torture, dictatorship, and injustice. The page grew significantly in a few days, the event page. It had about 100,000 confirmations, and over 1 million people received the invitation. But the regime was not really taking this seriously. On the day of 25th of January, tons of thousands of young Egyptians showed up in the street. I was one of them. And the common thing is like, we want to have a better future, and we want to own our future. We don't want a dictator, small group, a regime that doesn't care about our aspirations and dreams, and all what they care about is their own control of a country like Egypt to dictate our future. And my anonymity went away on the night of 27th for some mistake that I have done. And I got arrested in the street. They kidnapped me, and I was put in jail, blindfolded, handcuffed for about 11 days, where they completely disconnected me from the world. I did not know what was going on. My family did not know where I was. And I was not allowed to speak to anyone. I was not allowed to know anything that was happening outside. I was not as severely tortured, and I do now as I went to jail. People don't really understand how freaky and how desperate you are when you are in this situation. People take that very lightly, but it's such an experience. Being scared, being in the hands of people that could do whatever they want, and they're not accountable, is not something that people should take lightly. There are hundreds of thousands of people right now in Egypt, in Iran, in many other countries are facing this, and we have to do something about it. As I walk out of prison, after the pressure, the international pressure, and basically my company, people in the square, a lot of Egyptians started talking about, where am I and where's the regime? Where did the regime kidnap me? I got out, and eventually in a few days Mubarak collapsed. So I did witness the power of the internet, and I did see how such an amazing tool could bring people together, and how it could help us topple a regime. But why was I naive? I was naive because I only saw the positive side of the internet. The one that the media talks about 99% of the times they mention the internet. But I started to live the other side of the story right after Mubarak collapse. So the same tool that used to amplify hope, that used to amplify the power to stand up against dictators, it's also used to amplify hate. Opposing Mubarak united us. We were all against Mubarak, and it was very clear. People were delaying their differences. But right after Mubarak collapsed, everybody started fighting. And we started seeing polarization, hatred, online harassment. My status as an anonymous admin, which was amazingly good. No one knew who I was before 25th of January. So when people used to troll me online, I was like, whatever. I'm just gonna walk in the street. No one knows who I am. They talk to me as well, not as the admin of that page that many people hate. But after the 11th of February, I came out. So what happens? regime started misinformation campaigns online, started seeing all these crazy trolls of people saying, I'm a Freemason, CIA agent, Mossad, Iran, Iran spy, UK spy, what have you, all these names. I was wearing a t-shirt that had a lion, connects me somehow with Illuminati movement, whatever it is. All these are, spreading online, and I can see how it's, at first I was like, wow, that's very stupid, ha ha ha. But actually, when you start seeing it in the streets, where you start seeing people looks, or when, some people try and attack you, or actually eventually attack you, you're gonna understand that this is not that funny. It is actually very dangerous. So I stopped using the internet for 2 years. I stopped using social media for 2 years. 0 posts on Facebook, which I've been living on for so many hours every day from 2010 till 2013, when the Mohammad Morsi was forced out of power. The Muslim Brotherhood elected president was forced out of power by the military after the protests that many Egyptians had. So I stopped using the internet. I took a decision. I'm not going to post anything. Big part of it because I don't want to deal with this mess. I can't take it anymore. And that gave me a great moment to think about what is going on wrong. So I want to summarize this in 5 quick points, and I want you to think about it. I believe that a lot of the issues related to the internet is not inherently because internet is bad. Internet is such a great tool. It's the best tool to connect humanity right now. And all what we need is like just a better internet. We need an internet that's more thoughtful. We need an internet that solves some of these challenges and problems. So the first problem that I've lived through is polarization. Internet algorithms are designed in a way to reward polarization and aggressiveness. I know I write a post trying to objectively explain why the electricity is shutting down in Egypt every day, and I try and be scientific and objective as much as I want. I'll get a few likes. I post a photo of my black room and say, fuck you, Minister of Electricity. I'll get a lot of thousands of shares and likes and comments. And then the algorithms end up rewarding me, telling me that the second post is actually a good post and the first post is a boring post. So everybody eventually end up trying to be more spicy or trying to be more aggressive in their writing, which is, it works, it gets more attention, but eventually what kind of impact does this have on the society? I don't think it's a positive one. The second problem, I like to call it the world narrow web. So we thought the internet is gonna actually help us get together and understand each other. But what's happening is a lot of people are actually getting into their filter bubbles. A lot of people are unfriending the people they disagree with, or they're not following the people these guys are stupid, I'm not gonna read whatever they write. And then you end up having your own very limited view of the world, and you don't see how is that very dangerous. And we saw that in Egypt because of the polarization. The fights between the Islamists, the leftists, the liberals, everybody started creating their own groups, and everybody's talking, every group is talking to each other, and people are not willing to listen to the other point of view. And it's so easy to create filter bubbles right now. I mean, compare that to the old media. At least in the old media, the curators forced you to read stuff that you might not agree with sometimes. The third is basically this whole notion of we're talking over each other, not talking to each other. There are no conversations happening right now on the web in most of the cases. It's actually people broadcasting their opinions. And the fourth is that it's very easy for people to forget that there are human beings behind screens. People tend to be very aggressive. How would you stop that? I would say stopping that is only going to happen by increasing the awareness, by saying that this is not acceptable, by trying to find how to regain the internet back, how to think about the internet in the very same way I thought about it when I was connecting with the very old modem and I was hearing the voice. I know there's a lot of hope in the internet today, and we could do something about it. And I know that people like you could become the people who build the next generation of the web that would solve for these problems. So I call on you to do that. And with that, I end, and I hope I hope that we see the next wave of internet coming out from you. Thank you, everybody.